just when you thought it was safe to go onto iTunes. This is Next Level Guy, the only website that makes self-development as fun as going to the movies. It's time to take the red pill and escape the Matrix.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Next Level Guy Show podcast. Today's guest is Pete Rubish. Pete is a passionate powerlifter who is a 242 pound competitive raw powerlifter, with his best total being 2,028 pounds at a body weight of 240 pounds. Pete is an inspiration to me, and his form videos have caused massive improvements in my own lifts. In this interview we discuss how to find your inner motivation and intensity and go from being a beginner to a great in the gym. But first, a quick word about our affiliate partnerships. Next Level Guy is in partnership with some awesome companies. To see the latest deals, special offers and listener exclusives, please go to www.nextlevelguy.com/affiliates. That's www.nextlevelguy.com/affiliates. And now to the interview. So, thank you very much for taking the time to do this, Pete. I know you're a really busy guy. I really appreciate it. For those people who don't know who you are, can you go into a little bit about who you are and what you're famous for?
Yeah, I've been training / competing for about 11 years now. It actually marked 11 years in April that I've been training. So I got into powerlifting as far as competing when I was 17 years old, and I've been competing ever since. My best lifts in competition are a 766-pound squat. In knee sleeves, I have benched 446 pounds, and then I have deadlifted 871 pounds. And I compete in the 242, 110 kilo weight class, and I just love competing. I basically developed a following when I was posting up videos on YouTube, and then it kind of ran from there. Like, people started seeing my YouTube videos, and they enjoyed seeing me going crazy in my basement and everything, and the following sort of developed around that, and then it's really just taken off for a long while. Yeah.
I mean, because that's what you were deadlifting in front of a washing machine, but can you go a little bit back before then? Do you have brothers and sisters? You know, where were you raised, etc.?
Yeah, so I grew up in Cambridge, Wisconsin, which it's a really small town, about 1,000 people. Nothing really to do. I went to a school with like 300 people in high school, and I grew up there for most of my life. Kind of kept to myself throughout my childhood. I had friends up until probably high school, and then I kind of was like a loner. I did my own thing. I would go home after school, and I would train in my basement. And I never went out. I never partied or anything like that. I think I was 20 years old when I had my first sip of alcohol, to put things into perspective. So I was pretty sheltered as far as that. I just didn't really want to go out or do anything like that. I enjoyed training. I had big dreams as far as what I would achieve and where I would get to, and those have kind of come to fruition. But grew up there, and then I attended college for a little while at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, Wisconsin, which it was like going to the big city for me, because Madison has about 250,000 people, which is quite a contrast from when you grow up in a place with 1,000. So I attended there for a little bit. My heart was never really in it. I didn't want to go to school any longer. I didn't have any passion for anything like that. So it was actually about after 2 years that I just dropped out and went my own way. Started my own business, training people, competing full-time, training full-time, and I've been all over the map. I've had my good periods and my bad periods. Lived in Lexington, Kentucky for a year. Then I moved down here to Knoxville, Tennessee. And then about last July, I actually moved a little closer to the gym here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So I've been all over the map the last few years, but I think I'm settled here in Tennessee, and I enjoy it.
And do you ever regret that approach? I mean, do you wish you had done something else, or has working out and coaching, has that always been a sort of dream of yours from a kid?
Yeah, I knew I always wanted to do something along the lines of personal training, because that's just what I saw my passion with. Like, I enjoyed training, so I knew I would enjoy training other people. the only regret I really have with that is, honestly, I wish I hadn't gone to college at all in the first place, if I'm being perfectly honest. I wish I had skipped that 2 years as far as the money and time spent on that and just gotten straight into this, because I just knew all along my heart wasn't in that, and I was more just trying to appease my parents. But it wasn't going to work out. I had no passion for that. And if you don't have any passion for something, then you're not going to go very far. Like, I didn't want to be an accountant or anything like that. It just wasn't my desire.
I mean, that's very similar to the approach my brother has. He has 2 degrees, and he said he wished he'd started his own business straight away. You know, he wished he had never bothered going to university because it was wasted years. He loves what he's doing now, and I think when you find your passion, you've just got to go for it. I mean, you're known as being a great guy, you know, the intensity and the passion, the desire, etc. What do you think makes a good guy? You know, what makes a good man in your opinion?
Well, I would say you have to be somewhat humble. I think that's a pretty big part of it, because every time I've started to veer towards the other side and gotten a little arrogant, something always brings you back down. Like, there's always a situation that will humble you as soon as you start thinking too highly of yourself or thinking that you've got it made. And I even look at this latest thing. I was told like a month ago that I had a herniated disc in my back, and so that kind of got me down and set me back a little bit. But I took it for what it was, and I'm rehabbing it. I feel great, and I'm honestly like getting stronger than I've ever been. So it's just those moments, those things like that, whether it's a failed relationship or something, those moments will humble you. So you have to almost try to be humble regardless of whether things are going good or bad. I'd say that's the first thing. Just life experiences. We've all been through tough times, and the tough times are what make you, more or less. It's easy when things are going well to be enjoying life and everything's going smoothly, but when something happens that's bad, that's what really determines whether you move on and you become a better man, you evolve to that next level, or whether you get stuck in the mud and don't go anywhere with your life.
And I mean, is that what got you into powerlifting originally? Was it trying to deal with like the bad things that were happening and deal with like, you know, the angst and stuff, or you know, what motivated you into that? Into powerlifting? Was it something bad, or did you just enjoy it from, say, physical education classes or something like that?
I think it was more the latter, as far as like I really enjoyed it. Like, I tried out every sport that there was. I tried out American football. I played a little soccer, what you guys call football over there, for a little while. Tried basketball, mixed martial arts, baseball, everything, track. But this is what I loved. I loved lifting heavy. And the other thing I loved about it was that it was an individual thing, an individual pursuit that I could do alone. And I kind of always had a chip on my shoulder growing up, where I wanted to prove to everybody that I was going to be something and that I was going to do something with my life. And so all through high school, I just had this big chip on my shoulder where I was kind of outcast, and I didn't like fit in with anybody per se. I never got bullied because I was bigger and I lifted, but I just didn't feel like I belonged anywhere with any of those people and what they were doing as far as like the partying and the going out and hanging out. So I had this chip on my shoulder through that, and that fueled me along. And it almost made me angry. It like gave me this anger where I just wanted to train like an animal and just prove something to everybody.
And do you think that's something that, you know, a lot of us are facing now? It's that, you know, we don't fit in, but we kind of medicate it with drink and drugs and, you know, watching TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are like that. Like right now, I don't even own a TV. I haven't had a TV in 2 years.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, I keep it pretty basic around here. I barely have any furniture. My living room is completely empty. I have a desk, a work chair, a dresser. That's about it. A bed. You know, I keep it simple. But I think a lot of people can relate to this because they feel kind of that same way. Whether not even like as far as drinking and partying and doing all that. I think everybody has their own unique story, and everybody has their own challenges. And so we see all the highlights of everybody else's life and think everybody else has it so much better and everything's going smoothly for them when it's really not. So that makes us feel out of place, and that makes people want to turn to something that they can find consistency with, security, and that's training. Training's always there. Training is something that you can always control. So that's why I think a lot of people love it the same way I do.
I mean, it's definitely something that I enjoy, and I find if I don't train, it really affects me sort of mentally, emotionally, etc. Can you give an example? I mean, do you have such a thing as a normal day? Do you set your training up for weeks or months? What would a typical training session or week look for you?
It tends to change. It tends to be a little varied right now because I am dealing with this herniated disc in my back. So right now, I'll go to the chiropractor every other day. So basically 3 days a week, I'm in the chiropractor for an hour. He's adjusting me. He's doing electrostim on me. He's doing decompression on my spine, basically pulling my spine apart. So I do that, and then I stretch for about 30 to 40 minutes a day, 5 days a week. So that's all like the maintenance, the prehab/rehab work to keep my body healthy. And then right now I'm doing 2 back days a week, where each day starts off with 10 sets of pull-ups, and then a lot of lat work after that. And then I'm just basically going up 90 pounds at a time, 40 kilos on my deadlifts right now, 2 days a week, trying to ease back with that. And then I do a bench day every 5 days. So bench I do every 5 days because I find I'm the most rested and recovered if I wait 5 days in between. So it's a little different than how I would normally approach it, given the injury. But this is just what I have to do to come back and make things work right now.
I like how you consider, easing back into it, jumping 40 kilos in the deadlift,
Yeah, it's weird, but I know it sounds kind of funny, but like I'm still planning to compete in 16, or I guess now 15 weeks. So I can't completely just like not lift the deadlift or squat for a while. Right now I'm doing a lot of belt squats actually because it loads the hips rather than the spine.
And do you do this at your local gym, or are you doing a lot of this at home gym? Because I noticed you do a lot of stuff at home when you were, when you became famous, but now you tend to, I see a lot more of stuff at a gym. Do you tend to train between the two of them, or are you more at the gym now?
Yeah, so I trained at my home gym for probably 5 years, and that was the gym in my parents' basement when I was living with them back in Wisconsin. But I actually pretty much moved here to Oak Ridge, Tennessee for the gym here. It was a gym that I trained at once, and I loved it, and it had everything that I needed as far as like dumbbells up to 90 kilos, things like that, just everything you could imagine. So I moved here for this gym, and I train now at Maxed Out Gym full time. But it's the best gym I've ever trained at.
So see if somebody listening was like, okay, that's inspiring. I want to start, going for those kind of lifts, or I want to start getting better in the gym. What would you advise a complete newbie? Like, what should they look for in a gym? What's the set criteria that you will not accept unless it's there?
Well, I think the gym has to allow chalk first and foremost. And if they don't, that's a really bad sign. You want to look for good barbells, first of all. I mean, you want top-of-the-line barbells. That's going to tell you how serious the gym owner is about seeing good progress and having serious clientele. So good bars and a gym that allows chalk. Those are the two biggest things. After that, I would probably look for good benches. You want a good quality bench. A lot of commercial gyms have a very narrow pad on the bench that's very slippery, and you cannot get a proper arch on those. They're not good for your shoulders. So those are kind of the three main things. If your gym has a good bench, has good bars, and allows chalk, you're probably going to be in okay shape.
Because you can always get get the good playlist going, get the earphones on, and just zone out. And do you tend to work out on your own, or do you work out as part of a team? Because I notice you do a lot with your partner. I mean, is that just something like you both like doing, or do you just tend to train the majority of the time alone?
Yeah, I tend to train the majority of the time alone. Like, I never link up with anybody as far as planning my training sessions, because what I do is very individualized to what I need to work on as far as injuries or just the lifts that work for me. And then as far as like with my girlfriend, I'll usually help her out. I'll spot her and everything before I train, and then I will train right after her. So that's kind of how we do that.
And when you're when you're considering like a gym and planning your training and when you do your coaching, how would you advise a complete newbie? They've never worked out apart from just messing around in the gym, but they want to get into powerlifting. How would you start setting them up a program? Is it you hear this 3 sets of 10 malarkey the whole time, and it's just pointless. So how can somebody brand new to the gym, how can they get good fast? Is there a set principles you have for them?
Well, I think what I would do, I actually have a client who, he's 15 years old and he's just getting into it. And what I started him out with, I've got 2 bench days a week with him, and then I have 2 lower body days, 1 deadlift day and 1 squat day. So I really like the 4-day-a-week split. I kind of gravitate towards that and find it works the best for most people. And basically, we will start lower with the weight. Essentially, it's somewhat linear as far as start low, build up over the course of 8 to 12 weeks, and then at the end, you're down to 1 rep or so, and you test your lifts. And I'll do a progression like that. There's a few staple movements that I like to do with just about everybody. Like, I really believe in dumbbell benching. And then I really believe in the 45-degree barbell back extension for everybody. So I'll incorporate movements like that, but it's pretty simple as far as I like 2 bench days, a squat day, and a deadlift day.
And, do you see a lot of mistakes with other coaches and trainers, or, what's the standard issues that you have with other coaches? Because there's a lot of shady PT, shall we say.
Well, the biggest thing I run into, I don't know what everybody else is doing, so to speak, and I don't think most people's issue is how the programming is structured. I think a lot of different programs can work, and I never hear complaints from other individuals about programming. My most often heard complaint about other coaches is the lack of communication. So it's not even that people have a problem with what they're doing. People just can't get a hold of someone like that, or they're not getting consistent responses. So just staying in communication with the client is the biggest issue. And if most people simply did that and made an effort to do a good job, I think they'd be fine. But what I'm seeing with a lot of coaches is they just don't communicate. They'll give them a program up front and then fall off the face of the earth.
Do you set, how do you work out the goals and the ambitions for the client? Do you think there's set criteria that an average person should be able to achieve, like double your body weight deadlift, that sort of thing, or is it too unique to the person?
I would say it's too unique as far as everybody has so many different criteria of how they're built, how much free time they have to train, the stress of their job. It's just if they have kids or not, all these factors play a role in how much progress they're going to make. Occasionally I will have people come to me with very, very ambitious goals, and I have to straight up tell them, that's probably not going to happen in that time frame. I think what people often overestimate, or underestimate, I should say, the time frame that they can achieve their goals. And I even do it sometimes myself. I will make an ambitious goal, and instead of it taking me the 3 months I wanted it to take me, it'll take me 2 years. It's just, that's the nature of the game. So it's human nature for us to overshoot our goals, but oftentimes they just don't come that quick.
Now, what would you all seem to be achieving your goals? I think the latest one I read was a 1,005-pound deadlift you're currently chasing.
Yeah, I wanted to do that, but here's goes in perfectly with what we just said. Like, I think I was trying to achieve that back before November, and here we are in May. So, and I'm not even close. Like, I had the injury. I pulled 920 pounds. I had 945 pounds off the ground before the plates fell off, but I still have a long ways to go to get back to that point and then get to 1,000. So that could very well take another few years, but that's just an example of how that works.
I love that, just listening to you, I can hear that I only had 920 on the bar. I can feel that motivation and the intensity and the drive to get to that level, and I'm sure it's coming soon, because every time I see a video of yours, you're just killing the weights and you're really going and pushing the intensity. Where does that come from? Do you fire yourself up by thinking about bad things? Do you, how can somebody find that bit inside them that pushes them through these really tough lifts or PR attempts?
Yeah, I used to think about negative things and get angry and everything like that, but I don't do that anymore. I don't have that much to be angry about, so I can't summon that kind of anger. But now I just basically get fired up based on my goals. Like, I'm just internally motivated to hit these goals. And I'm not going to lie, there are times where I go through certain periods where my motivation is lacking. And I would say the last 4 or 5 months it's been that way, up until a few weeks ago. It was as if finding out about the injury motivated me again, and now I'm ready to get back at it, and I'm more motivated than ever. But prior to that, there was like a 4 to 5 month period where I just wasn't feeling that into lifting. I'd kind of go in, and things weren't there. So there's periods where it's good, and there's periods where it's bad. And I think it's normal for it to be cyclical, where you're going to feel that way. Because the year before that, I set PRs at 4 straight meets. My total went up 200 pounds in a year. So it's normal to kind of have a downward time after the success. Life is peaks and valleys, so you got to take it as it comes.
And how did you come back from that? Because I had a recent injury, and that was something that I haven't been able to get back to the gym for a wee while yet, and it's how do you get back into it after you've sort of fallen out of love with it? If somebody's listening who was maybe fit or wants to get back into shape, how can they get back in love with the gym? How can you reignite that passion? Like, how did you manage it?
For me, the big turning point was I found out what the problem was. So I was missing quite a few deadlifts where my speed wasn't there off the floor and my power, and I couldn't figure out why. And so once I was told I had this herniated disc, it gave me a pathway to actively treat it. Like, I knew what I needed to do now to treat this injury aggressively and come back strong. So now I have this solution in place where I'm going to the chiropractor 3 days a week, where I'm stretching my body and getting myself moving the best that I can, and then I'm easing back into things and targeting my weak points. So it's like once I had the plan in place, I was good to go. But the first step is you have to lay the plan out for what you're going to do to get back on track and what's going to be motivating and work for you.
No, that makes perfect sense. It's something I just need to I need to figure out, like you're saying, find out what the problem was, because we all have underlying issues about why we do things, and I think it's just you need to take the step back to analyse it. Can you go into a little bit about, we see you do some amazing lifts, but can you tell me about what you consider your biggest training failure and what you learned from it, and like how it shaped how you approached it?
My biggest training failure?
Well, is it something that you've maybe done, like you've missed a competition, or is it just your approach to things or your motivation? What's the biggest learning experience that you've had from lifting?
Well, I think, honestly, I partially tore my hip labrum I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. And then that coupled with this recent herniated disc injury in my back, it just makes you rethink the whole mobility aspect of training and taking care of your body. And it's made it so I'm doing a lot more stretching and mobility work and going to the chiropractor and doing these preventative things so that I can hopefully avoid more injuries and more serious injuries down the line. So when you're new to the sport, you often just want to lift the weight and not do all the other stuff, the maintenance work. But the injuries are often what bring that out, where you realize you can't just ignore that stuff and you have to take care of your body. So for me, all the injuries that I've had, those are what woke me up as far as I need to do this to prevent anything bad like that happening again.
I mean, it's something that I missed for a while, and I've ended up with a very sort of tight shoulder, and I've had other issues with my lower back, etc. How can people avoid those things? Is it a case of just using lacrosse balls and yoga and massages? How do you recover from? Because you do some amazingly heavy weights. How do you recover? Like what's your eating and your sleeping, and how do you relax afterwards?
Yeah, I tend to sleep 8 hours a night, so that definitely plays a role, and that's never been a problem. But I think people skip the stretching, and I think people don't take enough time between training sessions. I think people train with too high of a frequency, and they train when their body doesn't feel ready to train. So I like to tell my clients, I'm like, just because I put down for your training to be on these specific days doesn't mean you can't push one of the training sessions back a day or two if you're not feeling very well or if you don't feel recovered. So I think you have to listen to your body as far as if your back is sore, don't go on and deadlift. It just, you have to be smart about it. And that's a big problem that a lot of people won't do.
Yeah, I mean, it's something even each of us faces that moment of you have the internal voice and it says you're being lazy, you're chickening out, when your body's giving you that signs that, give me another rest day, I need it. Because people tend to go too quickly into things and they burn out. How did you keep being consistent after all these years? And is it just set a goal, reach it, and go for another one? Or, how can we keep that consistency going to the gym and pushing for better and better?
Yeah, that's one reason why I think it's better to not be in the gym all the time, because you will burn out quicker. I think if you give your body enough time between the training sessions, you're going to come in very motivated because you haven't been able to train that lift in a while, and it's going to keep you wanting to come back. You're going to feel more fresh and less chance of injuries. So there's a lot of positives to actually training less, in my opinion. But along with that, I think you have to accept that there are going to be those down periods where you're not going to feel especially great about your training or your lifts. And you just got to kind of ride the wave and know that time will pass. I don't know why it works like that, but that's it's very parallel to how life works, as far as life has its ups and downs. So know that the bad days will come and just keep pushing.
And is that something you allow yourself to do? I mean, do you reschedule gym sessions, or is that something you maybe just allow for your clients?
Yeah, if I'm not feeling good either, I'll head home and try to do it another day. And like I said, the last few months, my head wasn't in it. And I accepted that. I wasn't happy about it, but I accepted that I was going through a little period where I needed to shift my focus elsewhere for a little bit. And now I'm shifting my focus back to training more. And I'm feeling great, and I feel refreshed. And so it is okay to have those down periods where you focus on something else and lifting gets put on the back burner. That's really going to help you out in the long run, because you got to look at it like you want to do this for 20 years rather than just looking at the immediate thing in front of you.
I mean, I know that people say that like the squat, for instance, it's a good indicator of life. You get a lot of weight on your shoulders, it pushes you down, and you have to push yourself back up. Where do you get the motivation that, when you're fighting through a heavy lift, maybe it's not a PR attempt, but where does this rage and intensity come from? If you haven't got anything bad in your life to really focus on, to push, to get the anger, how can somebody push through it when it's going to get tough in that last few seconds of a lift?
Yeah, that's a good question because that's so internal. It's almost hard to put into words. It makes me think about it myself. It's like yesterday.
Sorry, I struggle with it, and that's why when I look at you, I thought, I want to do that. I want to know what he's doing because it's so goddamn good, you know?
I guess it is like, if I'm picturing right now that I want to pull 930 pounds, which would be a 10-pound PR, and that's my goal, and that's what I'm working towards, and how would I feel before that lift? I think it would be the motivation as far as proving to people that just because I got injured, I'm not done. I'm still here. I came back, proved to myself that I can come back from an injury, and know that I still have it, and I'm never going anywhere. I think that's what would motivate me the most. And then just the feeling of power that you feel when you pick up something like that, it's like the most addicting feeling in the world. Like you want it no matter what. You want to feel that power. And it's a funny feeling when the weight gets really heavy and you just destroy it. It almost feels like it's weightless. Like when I was lifting that day and I pulled the 920, everything was perfect. Everything felt like it was an empty bar. I can't put it into words. The form felt perfect. Everything was on point.
Because we have those lifts where, you know it's going up before you've even tried it, and then you know there's sessions when it's just not going anywhere.
Yep.
And do you change how you do things for a personal record attempt? Do you have a set pattern that you do these things, or is it more just a case of a build up to 12 weeks, give it a go, exactly the same as normal, and just see if I get it? Or, is there a ritual that goes on in your head, like a certain foot first, then a certain way of doing things? Or, are you superstitious in that kind of way?
No, I'm not superstitious in that manner. I just basically lay out the game plan, follow it for a period of 8 to 12 weeks, and then try to see it come to fruition. But I never have like a set pattern with any of that. It's just it's a matter of putting in the work, and then what will happen is the positive momentum of one week will go into another week, and all of a sudden you'll have a snowball effect where the positive momentum builds, and it just comes from there. You just have to let one good training session lead to another, and pretty soon they add up, and that's what leads to the PRs.
And is that what you do for, say, like for a competition? You just assume, you take that date and work back 12 weeks? Can you tell me a little bit about, people who you've coached and stuff like that? Have you seen, some amazing transformations in the people, in their physiques and in their own private lives?
It was a 7-hour drive south this past weekend. I had 2 clients competing, and one of them, he trains at my old gym when I was living in Lexington, Kentucky, and I've been working with him for 2 years now. And when we started out, he was 165 pounds, and now he's 198 pounds he competes at. And when we started out, he was squatting and deadlifting 275 pounds, 125 kilos, and this weekend he squatted 567 pounds in knee sleeves, and he deadlifted 644. So he's come a long ways, and his bench was 352. I think he was benching before that, 225, I want to say, when we started out. So that's just an example of a guy who's gotten a lot bigger, and we've seen some great progress with him. And I work with probably half my guys are natural lifters, and then half of them are enhanced. So I get a good mix with that.
And do you find, is there limits on what people can do? Say if somebody's completely natural and they're wanting to lift, can anybody get to these kind of levels, or is it okay, or do we give up too soon? Do we mentally give up before the body's willing to give up?
Well, the biggest thing that's made me question what's achievable naturally is I'm seeing all these IPF lifters now just putting up insane totals and insane lifts. And these are lifts that I never in a million years would have thought were possible, natural. Let alone these are lifts that would blow your mind if they were on things. So seeing like Ray Williams squatting, it was like 1,065 or something like that in knee sleeves, and Dennis Cornelius and some of these other IPF lifters, it blows my mind. So I really think maybe we do short ourselves, because what I'm seeing nowadays is incredible.
Yeah, because we have so many excuses, it's immediately, I haven't got the time to eat, I haven't got the time to do this, I haven't got the time to do that, but everybody gets the same 24 hours, and it was the kind of, starting this podcast, it really gave me the kick up the arse I needed, because I was listening to greats like yourself, who are just saying, like, we all make it so complicated. You were just going, yep, I just go and train, if I don't feel like it, I go on the next day, and you don't make it overcomplicated, you just do it. It's taking action, and I think sometimes a lot of us don't really want the goal. We're not that desperate for it. But for somebody who, is maybe quite overweight and wants to lose the weight, or wants to be like your friend, maybe scare off a bully or something like that, like get physically bigger, how can they get that mental toughness? How can they keep pushing through that initial stage when it hurts like hell because, your body's adapting to the change?
That's where I honestly think it comes down to the passion for it. Because, like, a similar example would be mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts, I did it for a few months, and it kicked my butt. It was really tough, every aspect of it, from the cardio to people tapping me out with ease who were weighing 50 pounds less than me. Doing sparring sessions and having someone get the better of you. So it was very tough, and there was that learning curve, a huge learning curve, where you're going to take your lumps. But the reason I chose to stick with training, lifting, powerlifting, rather than stick with that, was I just found this to be more fun, and it motivated me more. I enjoyed the training more than I enjoyed the mixed martial arts. So I don't think I could have continued with that for too long, because my heart wasn't in it. And so if your heart's really not in this, I don't think you're going to go very far. But obviously, if someone's listening to this podcast or they've been training for years and years, that's probably not the problem. So it's more of an internal thing when it comes to that.
And how would you advise somebody, how could they find what that internal struggle is? Is there, have you had something like that you've had to overcome?
I think, do you mean like finding what their passion is, or?
Yeah, but for people who are going to the gym, they feel like they really enjoy it, and they just can't seem to push past a plateau. Is it maybe give something else a try for a while, or change the training, or the approach, or is it something you have to deal, like you speak to the client and they have to deal with it in themselves, or how do you normally approach that with somebody?
Yeah, so if somebody's having a rough time, we will look at the outside factors around them and see what's going on. For instance, there's a guy today, and he had squatted 405 for 7 reps 2 weeks ago. He took a week off from the gym because of work, and then today he couldn't even squat 425 for 1. So we looked at it and we said, well, what was the work like? And turned out he was working like 11-hour days for a week out in the sun. So I'm like, well, that's probably what your problem is. That really takes it out of you, so we're going to kind of have to back off and ease back into it. So you kind of have to see what factors are causing this struggle, and then if need be, you change course with different lifts, or we'll just drop the weights down and we'll try to re-peak. Because you can't be peaked all the time, and sometimes you peak too early, or it's just very tough to time that, and kind of have to assess what happened and then come up with a new plan. No, so honestly, I find with people, whatever motivates you is going to be your best course of action. Like, you want to train in a manner that gets you excited to go to the gym, and that's likely what will produce the best results. So I wouldn't overthink things. A lot of times people do take almost too structured of an approach, and it's best to just train however motivates you, and that's what will reap the biggest rewards.
And what's your opinion on things like, training partners? Because that certainly helped me, was getting somebody that, that accountability to, they were there, they were wanting you to be there to help them, like, spot their bench and things like that. Are you a fan of training partners? And, how can somebody find a good training partner?
Yeah, I think the thing with training partners is that they're good as far as having someone to help you in the gym. I know some people use training partners more for the motivational aspect, and there were gyms like Westside Barbell where there'd be 10 people training at a time and everybody would push each other. But for me, I don't necessarily have training partners, but I always have people in the gym who can help me, because if I'm trying to, do dumbbell bench with 180-pound dumbbells, I just need someone to help me get the dumbbells into place. Or if I'm benching heavy weight, I need a spotter. So from that aspect of things, a training partner is a great idea, because you can push yourself a little harder without having to worry about not having help if you can't get the lift. But I don't necessarily use a training partner to motivate me. I do enjoy training on my own, and that's how I've done it my whole life. But there certainly is merit to having someone around who can help you with spots and help you get your dumbbells into position or anything like that.
And
I think it's a good idea.
When do you find that there's like the downside of training partners? Is it a case of that they like to talk, or you maybe don't push yourself as much because you're with somebody else and you let their limitations become your own? Or
yeah, that's the other aspect of things, where a training partner might become someone who you just socialize with and you're not as serious about your training, and they don't show up, they're not reliable. That could be another problem. But for the most part, I think it can help people. I think there are more positives than negatives to having a training partner. So I would recommend it for people starting out.
Now, one of the big things I've noticed about you is that you really like to eat. The Animal Big on a Budget series that they did, yours was one of my favourite ones. I've watched several times. You have that part on your YouTube channel where you're always talking about different foods and stuff that you absolutely love to eat. Can you go into a little bit about your diet? The kind of stuff that you would eat on an average day?
Yeah, my diet is quite sporadic as far as I can get away with eating pretty much whatever, and I don't put on much body fat. I've just always been lucky like that as far as genetically. I stayed pretty lean, so I've been fortunate to be able to eat almost whatever I want throughout the years. And right now, my big thing, I'm eating a ton of spaghetti. So I'll get whole wheat pasta, cook it up, I'll cook up some ground beef, put that on top, and then I'll take some tomato sauce and pour that over the top, and that's my big thing right now. I was also making gyros for a little while, and we have a restaurant here in the United States where it's like you go in and they make the food in front of you, and it's like a healthier place. And so I would make something like that on my own. But then at the same time, I do enjoy my snacks, I like fruit snacks, I like lemon ice, I like chips and salsa, chips and queso, pot pies. I enjoy all that kind of stuff. So I love to eat. It's probably my second passion to lifting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't watch your channel now without going immediately and needing a snack or needing something to eat. It just makes me so hungry when I watch it. So if you had to tell somebody, like how to improve their diet, I mean, do you think it's BS, that thing of you can't out-train a bad diet? Is it more about the person and how they're training than their diet, or should a newbie be eating healthy and as clean as possible? How can they approach their diet when they're starting to work out?
The biggest thing I've found over the years is that it doesn't have so much to do with what you're eating, it has to do with the amount you're eating. So every time I've tried to cut and I've not been eating very much, or even if I've tried to eat really healthy but I'm still not eating very much, my strength goes way down. Whether it's cleaner food or whether it's unhealthier food. I just find it works best if you eat enough. Plain and simple. I think a lot of people's problems are they're trying to like cut weight and get strong at the same time, and it doesn't work very well. You have to eat enough. That's the main key, no matter where it comes from, if you want to get stronger.
And how do you juggle all of this? You know, that you do a lot of promotional stuff, you coach, you do your own training, that you've got a partner, you've also got a dog. You know, how do you juggle life and having a relationship in with all the stuff that you have on? I mean, is there a way that you schedule things to give yourself a break and things like that as well?
Yeah, I think as far as like my relationship, it tends to work well because my girlfriend Kelly, she works at the gym, so that's how that kind of got started. And then I'm at the gym all the time, so we see each other a lot there. And I'll walk the dog like 3 times a day. I work from home, so I never have to put the dog up. Like I never have to put the dog in a cage or anything. And even when I'm gone, I let her roam around, so she's pretty happy.
What sort of dog is she?
Pit bull.
It's something I
But she doesn't eat anything around here, so.
How old is she?
She is 2.5 years old.
Oh, perfect age. Just coming to the madness age, you know. Because she
gets a little whiny, but.
No, I mean the beauty of dogs is they want to come for a run, they want to come for a walk. They're never not wanting to come with you and do stuff, and it's that motivation. And I really miss it. I moved to a city away from a family where I grew up with like sheep dogs and hills and stuff like that, you know. And we used to take them for 3-4 hour walks, and now you miss it, you know. It sounds like a perfect lifestyle you have there.
Yeah, I love dogs. I've become a big dog person because the first interaction I had with dogs was when I was with my ex. I was living with her, and she had a pit bull. So when we ended things, about a year later, I just got my new one here, Lucy, and I've had her for about 7 months. But I feel good about it because I never have to put her away. Like, she can roam the house when I'm gone, and I'm usually home for a big part of the day, so she sees me a lot. So it's a pretty good situation for her because she never has to be boarded up or anything.
And you never be sad, you know. Whenever you see a dog, you can't not be happy. They just the cheer you have. I'm going to go into a little bit more about you as a person. You know, I could ask you thousands of questions about bracing and deadlifting forms and stuff, you know. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, but I want to find out more about you because I find you such an interesting person. So what I'll do is I just fire some prompts at you, and if you just come back with whatever comes into your head. So, for instance, what's your favourite film?
Favorite movie? It's tough. I don't watch enough TV. Oh boy. Off the top of my head, goodness, I can't even remember the last movie I saw, to be honest. This is why I barely watch any TV or anything. That's why it's so hard. I can't give you a good answer, honestly.
So how would you relax? You know, do you just sleep, or do you go for like long walks, or, you know, if I was to say to, you know, Pete's off relaxing, what would you be doing?
Well, here's the I do have Netflix, and I enjoy that. So I watched some series on there before. I watched the show Prison Break, and I watched Breaking Bad, and I found those really interesting. So I've got Netflix, which is like $10 TV, but on your computer. But as far as movies, it's hard to recall.
I think you'd love a show called Banshee. It's a guy, Cross, I can't remember his first name, and he's a convict that gets out of jail, and he takes over from the sheriff when it's a case of mistaken identity. And, you know, he carries on a life of being the cop as well as like a criminal and stealing and stuff like that. And it's called Banshee, and it's an amazing show, and it's quite gritty and real, you know. And I think you'd love it.
Yeah, that sounds right up my alley.
I think you'd love it. I'll send you a link for it. What's an unusual fact about yourself that few people would know?
Well, it's actually surprising, but a lot of people don't know that when I was, I think it was 15 years old, I ran a 26.2 mile marathon, in 4 hours, 24 minutes. And then when I think it was 17 years old, I tried to do a 50-mile race, but I didn't finish it. So I tried long-distance running to challenge myself when I was younger, just to see if I could do it. But I really hated it the whole time. I would just force myself to run in the cold because I just wanted to see if I could do it.
That sounds like living hell to me.
It was. It was mind-numbing. I didn't enjoy any of it.
And how can, like things like cardio, I mean, what do you do for cardio?
Cardio, I literally do nothing except walking my dog, and I basically look at my training as being cardiovascular. So I don't do any stairs or anything like that, because like I said, I just stay really lean already. So I don't feel compelled to do too much cardio. But another cool random fact, if no one really knows this, but I'm pretty serious nowadays about like my finances, so I don't tend to buy anything except food, and then I basically save all my money. Like, I've been working on an emergency fund and getting debt free and all that good stuff, and 401ks and all that. I'm just getting serious about securing my future, so I literally only spend money on food and pay the bills, and that's it. And every other bit of it goes to savings.
It's a good thing to do. If you get time, have a look at Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and he shows people how to make the big savings and the big things that will actually help them and get like a better set up 401k and how to pay off debts and stuff like that. He has an amazing site, because so many of these things, they say, count your coffee every day and it'll save you a tenner a week, where he'll show you how to save 10 grand on your mortgage, or it's the major big steps. He's got an amazing site. What's the favorite piece of technology that you own?
It's my computer, really. I think that's where I spend most of my time, because that's how I get my work done. And then if I want to relax, I'll watch a sporting event on here or something like that. So that's definitely... I have a phone too, but I just basically use that to text and then film my videos of my training.
And if you were to watch a sporting event, what would you watch?
Mixed martial arts all the way. I love watching all the UFC events.
Have you got a favorite fighter, or?
Conor McGregor, to be honest. Freaking love Conor McGregor. And then as far as technology and stuff, I don't even use Facebook anymore. I just got sick of it. I just didn't want to keep up with all the negativity that got posted on there and stuff like that. So I haven't been on Facebook in almost a year. I was like, forget this.
Because it's amazing, isn't it? It's like they say, the worst places to go to see the bad side of humanity is social media. Have you ever gone into YouTube channels, comments? It's just shocking.
I can't read half of it because I have so many emails to answer already that I'm like, I can't keep up with all the other things. So I use Instagram. I'll put videos on there, and then I use YouTube from time to time. But I got off Facebook. I'm happy about it because I just don't want to see people the bad news stories and people complaining and all that and comparing myself to people. So I feel like I'm way happier without it.
And what's a myth about training or working out that you just wish would just go away? What really annoys you every time you hear it or see it on a internet site?
That everybody has to have the same form, because the thing about it is everybody's built differently and no one's going to have the same form. So there is no one-size-fits-all way to lift a certain weight. It doesn't work like that. We're all built differently. Some guys have to have their hips higher on a deadlift, for instance. That's just the way it is.
So say if you were to hold a dinner party just now, you had 5 spaces, yourself on 5 Spaces, and you could pick people who were alive or dead, real or fictional, but you know, this is your ideal dinner party. Who are you going to invite?
That's a good question. These are all those introspective questions that I never considered. I would say I would probably have Conor McGregor as one of them. And then, I'm trying to think here. I think I'd probably have Teddy Roosevelt because he started the national park system in the United States, and I enjoy nature and all, stuff like that, so I think it'd be interesting to pick his brain as far as how he got that going and why he selected some of the places he did. So that's 2 of them. See, my life is very specific. That's why it gets interesting. I think Louis Simmons, in all honesty, the founder of Westside Barbell, because he has some crazy stories, and I just would love to hear some of that stuff about how they train and the things they've done. But outside of those 3 people, off the top of my head, that's really all I can think of. There's one person I can think of, Dave Ramsey. He's a financial person, and I really look up to him. But as far as like lifters too, I feel like I've met a lot of the guys who I look up to, and I've been around them. So it's kind of, I take it for granted, but I've seen a lot of those guys already.
And who's your sort of favorite lifters?
Well, right now, like Larry Williams is really awesome to watch, and I've met him a million times, it feels like. And like Dan Green, I've been around him a bunch. Yuri Belkin, I've been around him a bunch. It'd be cool to meet Eddie Hall. I mean, I almost came out there this weekend for Body Power, but it just wasn't going to work out. But it would have been cool to meet him too.
Oh, I'll have to try and see if I can work that. I mean, try to get Eddie on. You know, I just really want to speak to him about, you know, that 500 kilogram deadlift, for example, and learn, like, because he just seems such an amazing guy. So for anybody listening to this, what do you want them to take away from this interview? You know, like, what's the key points you want people to remember about you, about training, about your worldview?
I think the biggest takeaway from this, I would say, is don't get too caught up in being so specific with your training approach that you feel like you can never veer away from it. Just understand that there are good times, there are bad times. There's times when you're more motivated and times when you're less motivated. And it's okay. That's the way it's going to work. If you want to be in this for the long term, you gotta train in a smart manner. Don't train when your body's not ready. Train less rather than more as far as the frequency, because you're going to be more mentally refreshed as well. But just don't be so stringent with your approach to training.
Yeah, just not take it as serious. And I find that's the biggest problem for me, was I just took it far too serious. I couldn't just keep it simple and, just like you say, just do it. And how can people keep in touch with you? Yeah, people can, basically the only reliable way to reach me is my email at, it's just prstrength1@gmail.com. And just from the amount of emails I get, I can't really keep up with Facebook messages and all that sort of thing. I don't get on there anymore. And then Instagram direct messages, I can't really keep up with those. So email's the way to go. And what's the goals now? Have you got set? You were mentioning there that you're going to be competing soon. Where can people watch you lift? Yeah, my next competition will be Boss of Bosses 3, which will be in California on August 26th. And they always stream that event online, so you can watch that. But my goal, really, I just want to finally surpass a 2,100-pound total at the 242-pound weight class. So I don't care necessarily what my individual lifts look like, but I just want to break that total. And what are you sitting at just now? Well, I'm still kind of easing back into the deadlifts and squats, so right now I'm not lifting much there, but I have pulled 920 pounds in the gym on deadlift, squatted 766 in competition, and then
Just yesterday, I benched 325 for 11 reps, paused with no leg drive. So I think my bench is probably at 500 right now, and I'm looking forward to trying that pretty soon.
Well, I think you're definitely going to smash that record pretty soon. I mean,
I'm ready for it.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, Pete. I know that you're a busy guy, and I've got so many questions I could ask, but I just wanted to give people who listen to this a general overview of who you are, because you're such an inspiring guy. There's so much about you, and I'd love to have you on again at some point. Can you just, the floor is open to you, so feel free to sell your coaching, have you got any products, seminars, things like that people can maybe check out and get in touch about?
I have a seminar July 22nd, but it's in Jonesboro, Arkansas, so that's a pretty specific location for those of you who aren't in the area. I'm sure people from the UK aren't going to be able to make it to that one, but I've been sponsored by Animal for 3 years now, and they've treated me well, and that's about it, really. Things are going well. I'm pretty booked up as far as coaching. I've been fortunate. I don't really have to advertise it much, and people just stick around, so no complaints there.
Well, you're definitely a next level guy in terms of the gym and doing the kind of things that I'm aiming to do myself. So I can't thank you enough for your training form videos, your motivation, just for even agreeing to come on and speak to me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't say anything but wish you all the best for the future, and hopefully I haven't inconvenienced Lucy too much. But
no, she's doing well.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
That's it for another week. Thanks for listening. Absorb it, practice it, use it. Until next time, keep trying to hit that next level in your life.